Mommytrack Daddy Whispers Podcast is now called Birth Agni Podcast.
Hello, warriors. How have you been? The cases in my city are seeing a surge now. We now know people from extended families and of friends being affected by the virus. It is scarier now, but we are being realistic. Anyway, worry has done nobody any good, and taking all the necessary precautions, I hope you're safe too, wherever you are. In the last episode, I left you with a bunch of questions which were aimed at finding our real wounds that need healing, and I talked of that magic element that was the byproduct of this exercise and would be needed to manage our kids, which is the topic of today. Here are the questions. What is the source of your anxiety? What are the highlights of your day? What would you like to change in your life right now? What are you grateful for in the moment? What do you hope for? Some of you were kind enough to send in your answers. I have mine clubbed and will share them after the intro. Welcome to Mommytrack Daddy Whispers, a podcast where we discuss women, postpartum, and parenting as a whole without subjecting it to motherhood or fatherhood. This is a bi-weekly podcast where I share my experiences and learning as a new parent with an intent to align diverse experiences and grow into a community wherein we mutually uplift each other. My name is Divya, and today we'll talk about managing our kids, some methods, that magic element, and some tricks. And now, the answers.
Some time with me and my little unborn. I think that is something which I would like to change in my life right now.
What is the source of your anxiety? Basically my fiance and my parents.
To be very honest, we don't get time to meet each other, greet each other. We just come, have dinner and go to sleep. At least I think I'm grateful that I'm able to spend time with you, and of course learning cooking.
And I just hope the lockdown gets over soon so that we can get back to our hometown.
Well, hold on to these while we start our topic and indulge in a few more questions. By the end of this episode, we would appreciate the fluidity of methods, understand how pivotal the omnipresent magic element is, and know that tricks can be tricky. Let's get started. First question, ask yourself, what kind of a child I have? Now do that in a second and stop. Now keep that answer with you. Fold it in one of your palms. And now describe your child. Take time. Let me give you a count of 5 bells.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You're going good. Think more. Think about the strengths. Think everything about your child. Time up. Keep this long answer wrapped into your other palm. Now look at both your palms and compare. What do you see? If you see the first palm considerably shrink as compared to the second one, which is plump, with your descriptive answer, ask yourself, what would you choose if you had one choice? Most of the times, we are occupied and we want to deal with children in a jiffy and end up finding labels for ourselves and our kids. Like the first answer, the day I say you are being extremely naughty, like you're being extremely naughty, is the day I have been restless and unable to give attention, and I know that deep down. When you go ahead and describe your child, when you take time, you pay attention, you take maybe just a few more seconds, but you are not in a hurry. And what the brain perceives is a clearer image of the problem at hand. And thus, this makes it easier to find solutions. Now, with that preset in our minds, I'm listing some tough situations with children that we'll deal in the next part. Children being stubborn, cranky, and loud. That would be the first problem. Needing time all the time. Second, screen time for children. That is the new problem that we're dealing with these days. I was reading a magazine a few days back, and it used a term called attention meter. And I thought, what a wonderful people management tool. I mean, both at work and at home. Regulating attention gives signals which are more profound with children, because for the initial few years, they converse primarily with expressions and not words. I'm stating a few examples on how attention meter would be toned to situations. I'm no expert, I'm only sharing my learnings and what I have been observing so far in my 18 months journey of parenthood. And all these things are not carved out in stone, and everybody's experiences can be different, and so their methods can be different. But here are a few examples. So let's set this attention meter to a high. Sample this while you are in an office call and the child comes to you, opens the door, walks in and calls, "Mama, Mama." What would you do? At this point in time, our natural instinct is to keep our attention meter low because we are already attending to something. But that is when the attention meter, according to me, should be high. I'm trying to do that every day these days, and I've seen results. It's easier to manage them. Please politely excuse yourself from the call. You can always mention that you have a child to attend and you will come back in a moment. If there is a call that did not start and you have a child that is cranky, you can always reschedule that call and attend to the child. Now, once we have attended to the child, we can engage the child elsewhere and go back and continue the work. What this does is it explains the situation to the child, and the child would not feel rejected or neglected. Now let's tone this attention meter to a medium. Example, so you too, that is the child and you have been over a conversation, but the child does not understand and is yelling and misbehaving and being stubborn. At that point in time, the attention meter should be set to a medium. One would always want to answer when there are polite questions in between all the crankiness, and when there are right questions being asked, those would be answered. What this does is it sends across a signal that misbehaving and stubbornness is not being attended to and is not being entertained, while the child is being attended to. Now let's talk about what are the situations that I believe that attention meter should be set to a low. When they're misbehaving and they're yelling and they are not listening at all. They are closed totally. They're not giving an ear to you. That is when the attention meter should be toned down to 0. It does the same thing we've been using it for. That is giving a signal that this behavior is not welcome. Now, this regulation of the attention meter is a method. I've noticed a lot of times that my daughter finds something to play with. She gets engaged somewhere. Just when she was extremely loud and doing something else, all of a sudden she finds her space. She's involved in something. That is when the attention meter should be turned extremely low. Because what I've seen is, a lot of the times when she's on her own, trying to discover something and is completely wrapped in the situation, and I go and disturb her, ask her what she's doing, and maybe say, "Oh wow, what are you playing with? Oh, can I come in?" This is when I disturb her. And if I do that repeatedly, this would put the child into a habit of wanting attention, of wanting that indulgence time and again. And it may make them crave for attention and disturbances. So attention meter low if you want children to be independent and on their own. That's another method. And if I pack that all into one method of attention meter, there is the second method that can go a very, very long way, but maybe a bit slow. This method is to try and get children into tiny routines. I've noticed that it's easier to manage my daughter when she has a routine. So she knows that she's going to have a bath at this point in time, so she would be inclined towards that. So if I have to mop the house, I know that I can put her in the swing, and she enjoys music with the swing. So she's into the routine of doing that. So she does not disturb me. She does not, she's not naughty. She's not disengaged. She's on her own and enjoying that small little time that we have created for her on an everyday basis. And she allows us to mop the house, to sweep the house, or maybe do something we want to. So the key to building routines is to do the same things at around the same time every day until the child sets into a routine and starts responding to it, or starts wanting it and starts recognizing that the routine is in place. Here, a word of caution. Children are great to mentor, but they're difficult to tame. All these primary methods that we have talked about, they take time, and they take that magic key element that we talked of. They take patience. In the first episode, when we discussed that we need to sort ourselves out to be able to sort our children, we did that because we wanted to unlock our own patience. Until we attend to ourselves, it becomes difficult to be able to attend to the children. Because children would be needing patience, even when they're being easy, even when they're being tough. Because we cannot tame children. We can only mentor them. And as children evolve, their interests evolve, and our methods will evolve accordingly. So there's no set rule to anything with children. They're just learnings. Children have come into our lives to make us better human beings. I hope it connects what I'm trying to say. Everything with the child will take time, but give it faith and give it your heart and give it that mold, and children will flourish into beautiful, independent beings. Having said that, I would love to hear your experiences and the methods you exercise with your children. There is some sort of a charm in exchanges. I would love that. And now let's move on to certain tricks. One trick is to explain to our kids. It would not be wise to think that children cannot understand. There are marvelous brains in front of us. Those marvelous brains, they learn to get down the bed on their own. They learn to get on the bed on their own. They learn to open the doors. They learn to close the doors without needing us. These brains in front of us, they are geniuses. So to think that children cannot understand is to make a fool of ourselves. Because when they pick up the things that we thought they would not, we always come in for surprises. Oh my God, how did they do it? And then our ego comes in. Oh, we never taught her that. Where does she pick that up from? They pick everything from us. They only listen to actions. So that's the trick number 2 that always works. Actions. Less phones is equal to less phones. More books is equal to more books. One of the tricks that I would say should be used really less, but that works most of the time, is divert the attention. But what I like to do is I like to attend to the child, try and explain to the child, and then divert the attention. I feel it's unfair for a child to be just diverted into something else. So suppose my daughter is in the kitchen and she wants to get something, and I just point her to something else, and she knows what she's asking. So to point her to something else is to make her feel that she's not being listened to. So diverting the attention is important, but the child needs to be attended to and then diverted onto something else. So it can be politely saying that I am not able to give you what you're asking for because of this and this. Now would you like this as an alternative? So that is a better way to put it across for children who understand, who are older than, say, my daughter, 18 months. Next trick would be to listen. To listen a lot more than say and explain and teach. Because children are communicating when they're being tough. Recently, what I saw with my daughter was that in the evenings, she would be really cranky. She would cry at everything. She would want everything. So suppose she wants the telephone and I do not give her and try and explain to her. She's super cranky. She's crying. But eventually, I realized that she's hungry. She is cranky, she is moody because she's hungry. So I instinctively go there. I give her something to eat and she's calm. Now if I tell her, no, I cannot give you the phone, you can alternatively listen to some music, she would still be a bit stubborn, but she would understand. So another trick with children is to listen. Maybe they're trying to say something else than what you're trying to understand. And children, they hardly speak straight to you. Another trick would be to respect and not force discipline. I already talked of that before, but the idea here is to allow that space and encourage kids to take their own decisions and try and align those decisions into being more meaningful and correct and in their own favor. so that they do not hurt themselves or people around themselves, which is our major concern most of the times. I've run out of observations, tricks, and methods. So one last trick before we move on to the parenting tip of the week. That would be to allow children to be messy. They are children. They should be allowed to be messy. So if they are playing on their own and we really want to control them, or don't spoil the floor, don't splash water everywhere, we cannot let the child grow and not be messy. The trick to handling children is to be easy, to allow a space, and enjoy. And now let's move on to the parenting tip of the week. The parenting tip of the week or the bye-week is to stay positive. It is in this time that things are extremely vulnerable. And our children, they read our emotions, they read our moods very well. So this would impact them and their function. So my tip is to stay positive, maybe make the plan that you've always been wanting to. So I've decided for myself that I'm going to send out positive vibes, make positive plans, and also be realistic that I cannot control tomorrow. But since I cannot control tomorrow, I can control today. And believe me, I've put in extreme efforts to be this, and it does make me happy. So I'm going to continue making the plan that I had dreamt of, that when my daughter would be 2, I'll make a visit to Andamans, because I wanted to go there even before she was born. Somehow we zeroed in on some other place and could not go to Andaman. So I thought that I'm going to have the same set of clothes for her and me and so many other beautiful things, at least be happy for some time and send across positive vibes. What I believe it would do to my system, to my body also, that it would increase the immunity because I'll have a will to see a better tomorrow. On that note, so here's me signing off with a promise to come back with another episode. If you like listening to us, please subscribe, download, and share. You can write to me through my Instagram handle @divya.kupurofficial. Whatever it is you like or dislike, I'll be waiting on the other side. Stay tuned. Stay safe.